Just because there are unacceptable risks for one option does not necessarily mean it should be discarded. This might sound contradictory to the fat tail analysis, but the purpose of the fat tail analysis is to better understand how you are positioned between the upsides and downsides. Perhaps your heart's vision guides you towards one path, but catastrophic risks block your way. There is a way to eliminate exposure to unacceptable downsides while still venturing towards this option, the art of risk mitigation. This is where you devise a strategy that circumvents your exposure to downside while retaining your exposure to upside. What does mitigation look like? Think of our option A-B scenario, choosing the steady, boring corporate job or the unsteady freelance work that fits your future vision. Let's say you are the sole provider for your family, and you cannot risk your sole income stream drying up. To mitigate this risk, you can take parallel paths. Begin building your business for freelance work on the side while you continue your 9-5. Once you've reached an inflection point of your choosing, you can fully commit to your vision. Your inflection point could be once your freelance business covers your living expenses, or if it does not turn a profit in 3 months, that is up to you. Each time you walk a mitigation route, you expose yourself to new risks, so identification and mitigation of risk is a continuous process that requires diligence. Identifying risks and navigating mitigation paths can be tedious work, so how can we be practical about this? To keep it simple, the heuristic the author follows: identify the fat tails and avoid risk of complete ruin at any likelihood. In other words, prioritize minimizing the intolerable before optimizing for upside. Actualizing a detrimental risk means realizing a loss that hurts you with an intolerable magnitude or duration. We'll call anything past this threshold ruin. Everyone's definition of ruin is different based on which risks are most important to them. To some, ruin means jail time or significant injury. To another, it might mean putting their loved ones through financial instability. As the great tennis player Andre Agassi said, "Losing hurts more and longer than winning feels good." Our natural aversion to loss over aptitude for winning is for good reason, because we are always one bad decision away from ruin. The same cannot be said for actualizing a meaningful reward. No reward will keep you content for the rest of your life because you are a teleological being. You are goal-oriented. Once you achieve a goal, your contentment will fade and your eyes naturally shift towards a new goal. As you explore mitigation steps, it is worth noting that this is a step where your heart has the opportunity to sabotage your analysis, especially if you tend to be heart-dominant. Just like in the case of gambling addiction, the heart may try to weaponize logic because it is intoxicated by its own desires. Your heart has the tendency to propose mitigation strategies that expose you to detrimental risk, while rationalizing that the risk is unlikely or not as bad as you'd think. Combating this requires a vigilance for the intolerable and a recognition that detrimental loss will always be worse than any achievable gains. The wise reader may ask an excellent question surrounding risk mitigation. What if you can't identify all the risks? There will always be risks lurking underneath your awareness, ready to disrupt your decisions. From weather forecasts to business strategies, people are pitifully bad at identifying impactful risks. How many companies scrambled in the early 2020s because they couldn't predict the post-pandemic supply continuity problems? Who could have predicted these risks 10 years ago? Perhaps they could have better prepared themselves for unpredictable risks instead. Many businesses ran into post-pandemic problems because they tried to operate as lean as humanly possible, meaning they kept as little inventory as possible to reduce costs. Their small inventories quickly dried up when their suppliers struggled to reliably produce goods. In order to effectively walk the path of risk mitigation, you need options. Our business counterparts made the common mistake of locking themselves into a path that castrated their opportunity to escape their own decision. Had they kept some excess inventory as an insurance policy instead of prioritizing profit, they could have avoided critical issues and revenue losses that arose from this unforeseen situation. As new circumstances arise, new intolerable risks appear. When you are deadlocked into a decision, you inevitably run into ruin. The mitigation path to all mitigation paths is maintaining the ability ability to escape your decisions. Banking on your ability to have flawless judgment with incomplete knowledge is stupid at best and suicidal at worst. Sometimes you don't have the option to take the mitigation path of all mitigation paths. Whether it's due to financial obligation or your principles, sometimes the only path towards a decision is through catastrophic risk. In these situations, your fat tail analysis should be taken seriously. A wise decision is simple: zero tolerance for exposure to the unacceptable, no matter how great the upside. To summarize, we use charts displaying impact, probability, and confidence to create an illustration personalized to your unique situational desires, spoken in the language of the brain. This visual led to the assessment of tail events and their impact in both conventional and Mandelbrodian paradigms, where the conventional paradigm views the world through the lens of probability, and the Mandelbrodian paradigm sees the world through the lens of upside and downside. Fat tail analysis applied the Mandelbrodian paradigm to your situation by positing that the most impactful outcomes require the most attention regardless of their perceived likelihood. It encourages you to judge your situation by your exposure to upside and downside with an emphasis on the avoidance of ruin. Risk mitigation marries your situational assessment with your heart's vision. Identification and mitigation of impactful risks keeps you off the path of catastrophe and walks you towards your heart's most meaningful goals. The art of risk mitigation encourages you to march towards your goals without compromising on your sense of meaning or stability.